Hi everyone, in this video we're going to be discussing how to partition a line segment. Partitioning or dividing a segment into a ratio means to break it up into a set number of parts, which is the sum of the ratio. So partitioning segment AB into a 2:3 ratio means that the segment will be divided into 5 parts, add 2 plus 3, and it will start at A. It also states that partition point will be 2 sections away from point A. Let's take a look at what this means visually. Here we have point P partitions AB into a ratio of 2:3. So what that means is I have a line segment AB, and it has how many total parts? So what I have to do is add 2 plus 3, which gives me 5. So this line segment is broken down into 5 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And since it has a ratio of 2:3, here are 2 of the sections together, and then 3 of the sections together. 2/5 of distance from A to B. Let's look at another example. If we have point P partitions AB into a ratio of 3:2, again, we add 3 plus 2 together, and that gives us 5 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 total parts, but we're in a ratio of 3:2. So that means after 3 sections, we have our partition point. So 3/5 of the distance from A to B. So with these questions, we are going to be asked to find that particular partition point. So here we have our first example. Given m, -4, -1, and n, 0, 3. Find the point P on MN such that MP to PN so that it is in the ratio of 1:3. So we have a list of steps here that we're going to follow in order to find that partition point P. So the first thing that we're going to do in step 1, add numbers in the ratio to get the number of parts. So my ratio is 1:3, so I'm going to add 1 plus 3, and that's going to give me 4 parts. Step 2, write the first point and the last point, leave space. So I'm going to start with m is -4, -1, and I'm going to leave some space and put n, which is 0, 3. Step 3, how do we get from the first x value to the last x value? So what that means is, how do I get from -4 to 0? Well, I have to add 4. -4 plus 4 gives me 0. Let's look at step 4. How do we get from the first y value to the last y value? How do I get from -1 to 3? I add 4. -1 plus 4 gives us 3. So now we're on step 5. Divide each of the numbers you just found by the value from step 1. So the value in step 1 was 4 parts. So what I'm going to do is divide 4 by 4, that's going to give me 1. And 4 divided by 4, that's also going to give me 1. In this case, it's the same number and might not always be. Step 6, add that new number to the original x value and keep adding until you get to the last x value. Do the same procedure for y values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this number 1 to the x value in order to get to our final x value, which is 0. So -4 plus 1 is going to give me -3. I'm going to add 1 again, -2, add 1 again, -1, and add 1 again. It gives me back to 0. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to add 1. That's going to give me 0. Add 1 again. It's going to give me 1. Add 1 again. It's going to give me 2. And then add 1 again. It's going to give me 3. Step 7, loop the points. Loop should match the amount of parts that you found in step 1. So I'm going to loop. So let's see. -4 to -3 is one loop. -3 to -2 is another loop. -2 to -1 is another loop. And -1 to 0 is another loop. How many loops do I have? I should have 4 because that's the number of parts I have. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. And do the same on the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Retrace the loops based on the first number in the ratio. This is your partition point. So the first number in my ratio is 1, so I should loop once, retrace my loop once again, and I'm left with -3, 0. So that is going to be my partition points. So starting with m, -4, -1, and n, 0, 3, those are the two endpoints. After splitting up the line segment in a ratio of 1 to 3, after one section, I'm left with the point -3, 0. Let's look at another example. Given points A, -6, -5, and B, -4, 0, determine and state the coordinates of point P if AP to PB is in the ratio of 2 to 3. So a number line here is provided just in case we need that in order to figure out how many spaces we're moving. So the first thing we're going to do is rewrite our ratio. 2 to 3, I'm going to figure out by adding the two numbers how many total parts I have. 2 plus 3 is 5. So I have 5 total parts. So I'm going to start with my original, which is A, and rewrite my points, -6, -5, and leave some room, and I'm going to write the last point, which is B, 4, 0. Now I need to ask myself, how do I get from -6 to 4? Well, this is when you can use your number line. So I can figure out from -6 to 4, how many spaces do I move? I'm actually going to move 10 spaces. So plus 10. -6 plus 10 gives me 4. How many spaces do I move from -5 to 0? I'm going to move 5, so plus 5. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take however many parts it is, which is 5, and divide them. So 10 divided by 5 is going to give me 2, and 5 divided by 5 is going to give me 1. This is the number I'm going to add to my x value and to my y value in order to get back to B. So I'm going to add 2, so -6 plus 2 is -4. I'm going to add 2 again. That's going to give me -2. Add 2 again. Gives me 0. Add 2 again. It gives me 2. And add 2 again. It's going to give me 4. Now I'm going to add 1 to my y value. So -5 plus 1 is -4. Plus 1 again is -3. Plus 1 again gives me -2. Plus 1 again is -1. Plus 1 again, it's going to give me 0. So now I'm going to loop, and I should have 5 total loops because I have 5 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then I'm going to retrace my loops based on the first number, which is 2. So I'm going to retrace 1, 2. So my point here should be -2, -3. And that's our partition point P.